Hi, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Too Opinionated. Today, I'm joined by my frequent collaborator, Dennis the Panda. Hi, Dennis.
How's it going? Happy to be here.
Welcome back.
No Coronas in this house.
That's
Happy
right.
to be here.
That's exactly right. And both of us are just thrilled with our special guest, Marshall legend, professional basketball player, Jon Elmore. So welcome, Jon.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. No, we've been pretty excited about this. It's rare when we get to talk to somebody within the state. Usually we're having to talk to people out west. So get somebody on the same timeline, kind of nice.
Yep. East Coast, baby.
Well, so let's start this way, Jon. So, I know that when all of this mess started, you were playing ball in Italy, and you managed to get home. So what has that been like? How have you kept busy? Have you been able to practice at all?
So, little story. My fiance and I were in Italy. We were in Sicily on the island, and so as everybody's seen, Italy has just been getting killed with the virus. I mean, just what's happening over there is devastating, and so the virus was just going crazy over there. And I think it was Monday, February 10th or February 11th. And my coach called me and he's like, hey, look, we think the season's going to get suspended in the next few days. You might want to go home for a little bit. And so I was talking to my fiance and I was like, we can stay. I can stay here. I have access to the gym. The season might start back. So I'll be ready. And then, so it was 8 o'clock in the evening and I was like, you know what, we're getting out of here. She's 23 weeks pregnant now. We're having a baby girl. Yeah. So we had to kind of factor, we had to kind of factor her health, the baby's health into the decision. So we booked our ticket. We booked our flight at 8 p.m. in the evening. That night, the Italian Prime, they're stopping most flights everywhere. It turns out we were on the last Delta flight from Rome to Atlanta. So just getting out of there when we did was nuts. I mean, we got really lucky. I'm glad we pulled the trigger on that. So it was really good to get home. We did a 14-day quarantine just to make sure we didn't have any problems or anything. Right. And like you said, it's hard with everything shut down to try to stay in shape. But, I'm doing a lot of running. I've found some access to some private gyms that I've been able to use a little bit. So I'm just ready for this whole mess to be over.
Well, you've got so I know that your fiance is a pretty good runner herself. So has she been coaching you through the running drills?
She has, man. She has. I'm definitely in pretty good shape, so I owe a lot to her. And she's turned out to be one heck of a rebounder on the court, man. She chases down the basketballs. We're still working on her passing ability. She gets a little lazy sometimes, and they're not as strong and sharp, crisp passes as you'd always like, but she's improving.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you happen to have do you have access to weights? Did you have a gym at your house?
I do. So when we built our house, I was fortunate enough, my parents installed a small little basketball court in our basement. So we have 10-foot hoops down there, wood floor. It's pretty sharp. So I'm lucky to have access to that, especially with everything shut down. I can just kind of walk downstairs and get a little workout in.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know when this stuff first hit, I ran to Walmart to just try to get some dumbbells, and I got like 2 15s and a 20, and that's all I've had till this week. They finally opened the gyms back up.
Yeah, I mean, I went, like you said, I did the same thing. I went to Walmart to try to get some free weights or some med balls and stuff like that. And I mean, the shelves were just raided. And now you look online and everybody's price gouging and everything's crazy expensive. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah, and it happened fast.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah,
of course. I guess when, the entire country tries to do something at one time, I guess it goes pretty quick. Yeah, well, this is pretty exciting. So, as a fellow Marshall graduate, it's pretty awesome to have you on the show. I wanted to ask you a little bit if we can go back to your junior season when you were in got a chance to go to the NCAA tournament. First time Marshall had been in there in a while. Probably. I grew up watching Skip Henderson and some of those guys playing. And they were at least competitive, to the point where they were getting some shots. But it'd been a while since we'd had a team that had accomplished that. And then you guys, turn around and defeated Wichita State, which was pretty awesome. But, if you don't care, describe how that, that kind of roller coaster went and the emotions that went along with it.
Man, to be honest, it was a dream come true. As a basketball player, as a kid growing up, I mean, you always dream about playing in March Madness. I remember growing up, I would see Steph Curry, you see those mid-majors, Jimmer Fredette, guys like that who make the NCAA tournament from smaller schools. And that was always my dream, was to play in the NCAA tournament. I'm sure a lot of kids dream that. So accomplishing that and doing that at Marshall, like you said, that was the first time in 31 years, I believe. The school was 0-5 in the history of the NCAA tournament. So breaking that barrier, setting that new mark, it was a dream come true. Well, a lot of people don't know, like you said, it was a roller coaster of a season. We lost several games that we should have won. We won a few games that we weren't supposed to win. But the thing about that team was how everybody just came together down the stretch. And at a mid-major, most of the time you have to win your conference tournament to go to the NCAA. So the goal is to be playing your best basketball down the stretch to give yourself a chance. And I think that's what we really did that junior year. Was I think we hit our stride. We came together. Everybody understood their role. Everybody understood what they brought to the team. And when you have a team meshing like that, that's hitting on all cylinders, they're dangerous. We went to Middle Tennessee last game of the regular season. I think it was last game of the regular season. And they were ranked in the top 25. We beat them. Big upset on their senior night. So that huge momentum going into the tournament, I think that just that adrenaline and that kind of rush we had for beating them on their home court, we were playing our best basketball. I mean, we would have played anybody in the country at that time, and I would have liked our chances.
Yeah, that was a magical season. I've noticed, that coaching staff there at Marshall, they tend to have the teams playing their best at the end of the season, which is kind of a compliment to them, because you don't see that very often.
Mm-hmm. Now, they do a great job, and I give Coach D'Antoni the credit, a lot of it. I mean, the whole staff gets the credit, but he gets a lot of it because he's a coach that everybody I've ever met enjoys playing for him. He's a coach that essentially rolls the ball out there and says, go play your game. And when you have a coach that believes in you like that and instills that confidence in you, it's just like any other job or any other work. I mean, when you go to work and you have a boss that you love that gives you the freedom to work and do what you do best, I mean, I couldn't have been more lucky and blessed to have him and that entire staff there.
Yeah, that's terrific. So you graduated from Marshall, and the last I remember, you were trying out at the Celtics summer camp or summer league, and then from there went over to Italy to play. What was the experience like, kind of going through that summer league, and how close were you to making the team, and do you have plans to give it another go at some point?
So the NBA experience, it was awesome. I mean, it was something I dreamed of. I wish it would have worked out a little better, and I would have signed a contract. But, I think I learned from the experience. The whole summer was kind of a roller coaster because when you're trying to make the NBA, and at that time they have NBA workouts. They don't have them this summer with everything going on, but you have NBA workouts. So teams are flying you in. You get there in the evening, stay the night. You work out the next day, and then you fly to the next spot. So I ended up having, I think, 9 workouts that summer.
Wow.
And I was flying all over the country. So I'll give you just a little timeline. So say Monday, so here's the order I worked out. Monday, I was in Phoenix. After the Phoenix workout, that evening I flew to Miami. So I stay the night. The next day I work out in Miami. Have a day off. I fly from Miami to Sacramento and work out for the Kings. So I'm all over. My frequent flyer miles are booming right now. I leave Sacramento. I work out in Indianapolis for the Pacers. I leave Indianapolis. I go to Detroit to Minnesota, Minnesota to Boston. So I'm flying all over the country nonstop. I mean, you're by yourself too, which that's not always fun. You don't get experience with anyone. But at the same time, I'm working out against all these guys that are NBA players or borderline NBA players. Pat Riley's in the gym. Larry Bird's in the gym. All these guys that you just idolize as a kid and you look up to. And you're on stage to perform. So I was really lucky. I get to Boston. I had one of my better workouts in Boston. There's Brad Stevens, Danny Ainge, all of these guys are just legends, man. So it was truly humbling, and I was blessed to have that experience. Summer League didn't go as great as I planned, but I learned a lot from it, and hopefully I get a shot going forward to try to keep working on my game and hopefully get a chance to play at that level one day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's terrific. So what went into the decision to choose to go to Italy? Did you have other offers? Was there a decision-making process there?
Italy, I got lucky because Italy, I had a really great agent, and my family helped out with the decision, so I was really happy with it. But Europe has a million different leagues and a million different levels. And I'd say some of the better leagues in some of the better leagues in Europe, I'd say Spain's probably 1 or 2. Italy's top 2 or 3. You got Russia, you've got Germany, you've got Australia. You've got all these countries over there that have these professional leagues. And Italy is a really high-level league, great level of basketball. I was lucky to sign there as a rookie. I think there was 4 or 5 rookies in total in the whole league, and there's 17 teams of 13 guys per roster. So, Ethan Happ from Wisconsin, I don't know if you remember him.
Sure.
He's over there. So there's several just really good players, and there's a bunch of veterans that are just had NBA stints, stuff like that. So I was lucky to get in the league, had some success, bounced around. I played in 2 teams in Italy this year, but it was a great experience, and I'm excited to see where my career goes down the road.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, Dennis was checking out the stats for your final game there.
Uh-huh. Yeah. We were, it's always an interesting situation when you try to, the Italian league, the sites are all in Italian, right? So like the translations and such sometimes are a little bit tricky, but it said that the last game was around March 7th, but we were like, wait, I don't think they were playing in March. We're not sure exactly that, but I think it showed you dropped 20 in your last game, and there was a funny quote in there where it was translated from Italian to say you were one of the top fire mouths on the team. We assumed that you were on fire, and you were reading scores, so that made sense. But I guess my question about that would be, as you said, you haven't been there all that long. What's been the transition for you to playing in Italy? I've been to Europe once, and not everybody speaks English, obviously. So how's that transition been for you?
So I played on 2 teams this year in Italy, and the first team was really up and down. So like you're talking about, my head coach didn't speak a word of English on my first team. So as a rookie, you're kind of looked down upon because you don't have European experience, you don't have professional basketball experience. So you're kind of at a disadvantage walking in the door. And then you couple that with a coach who doesn't speak English. It was kind of a tough, rough situation, and I had to learn on the fly. I was a little bit streaky just trying to make that adjustment. And like you said, it's tough. You're in a foreign country where you're going out to eat, and you can't have a conversation with the waiter about what you want. So I'm using Google Translate to translate English to Italian, Italian to English.
Right.
And sometimes all the words don't match up exactly how we're raised or we learn it. Like you said, it said I was a fire mouth when I was hot on the court. You know what I'm saying? So my dad calls me all the time. He's like, man, this is driving me nuts trying to figure out these translations. So you're not the only one. But and then I ended up, so I think I was averaging like 8 points on my first team. And then I switched teams mid-year, and I finished the year averaging about 18. So
that's awesome.
Once I got over the hump and made that transition, the game was way more physical over there. There's the language barrier play that we're accustomed to over here. I think I hit my stride a little bit.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we just lost you for a second.
Yep.
Yeah, that's really great. I would imagine that you have to adjust your game, but also just the cultural adjustment.
Right.
It has to take a while, and it has to affect how you're playing. So that makes sense that you would improve as it goes along.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I mean, it looks like you were 8-2-2 at with the first team that you were with there. For my money, 8-2-2 is pretty good when you're
Not bad.
Yeah, no, that's a good transition, man. From what I'm looking at, first
Right.
kind of in that other environment,
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it was frustrating because coming from college where Coach D'Antoni gave me the keys and said, just go play. Now you're
Right.
going into a system that's a lot more strict. You got to kind of relearn what you're doing and pick your spots to attack. So I really struggled here and there, but I had some really good games. I learned from it, and moving forward, I think I'm just glad to get that whole year behind me and get this pandemic stuff behind us because I'm ready to get back out there and keep playing.
That's right. Have you been in touch with the team? Have they communicated when you might be able to come back?
So the whole league canceled the season. So the whole year is over. And typically in Europe, you sign 1 or 2 year deals. So I had a 1-year deal. All contracts have been terminated. Everybody's negotiating their contracts now. But I'll be a free agent going into this summer. My agent's just working the marketplace, trying to see who's interested, what spots, stuff like that. So I could be in a totally different country. I could be back in Italy. Ideally, I'll go to the NBA, but you never know what's going to happen. So I'm just staying positive, staying in shape, and waiting for my number to be called.
Is the tournament here in Charleston in July, is that still on, or have they canceled that?
So from everything I've heard, the plan is to still have it. I don't know how they're going to do it with the fans and following all these guidelines that everybody's been talking about. But from what we hear, the tournament's still a go. I believe it's still going to be on ESPN. They reached out several days ago just saying a little update. The plan is to still have it. So we're preparing. We're getting our roster together. And once we know a little bit more information, we can start practicing and stuff. But, I mean, we're psyched. We're trying to raise money and get as prepared as possible for it and be ready. Yeah,
go through the roster. Who do you have on the team with you?
So we played last year as the West Virginia Wildcats, which was just kind of the AAU team we grew up playing on. And so some of those guys played, like Stevie Browning, myself, Jon Elmore, Santino DiTrapano. But as we started thinking about it and we're talking to the basketball
Dennis, turn that up. Hang on, John. We lost you again.
Yeah, I think we lost you.
We will pause while we wait for John.
Station identification.
Hey, that's the type of stuff that happens on these Zoom calls. You just got to roll with it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Oh, there he is.
Oh, there he is. Yeah, we got you now. No problem. That's what we were saying. This type of stuff happens on these Zoom calls. You just got to roll with it.
Right.
Okay. So are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So we were talking to the tournament and the guys that run it, and they were talking about, what do you think about becoming a Marshall-based alumni team? And so when we started thinking about it, we said, well, we got Ryan Taylor. He played at Marshall. We got I played at Marshall, Stevie Browning, and myself. So that's 5 guys right there that all played at Marshall. So we figured, just talking with everybody, why not form the alumni-based team? Why not represent the school? And why not put Marshall on the national map? Why?
Yeah.
We did a lot at Marshall. We were able to kind of raise the standard there. So I think it's great for the brand, great for Marshall, and it's good to play with some of these former teammates and reunite and get back together.
Are you hoping to get to play against the WVU team?
We are, man. I don't like how I went out against them last time. So hopefully we can meet up with them in the championship or one of the later rounds. I know several of their players, so it'll be good fun. And I think it's good for the state, man. The 2 Division I schools here, how much each school means to the state. So having those 2 on the national map playing on ESPN, I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it honestly, it should be a series that we're seeing every year anyway, football and basketball. But I know there's a lot that goes into that. But at least you guys had that kind of rough game there against them in the tournament. But the soccer guys got a little revenge last year, knocking them out.
I loved it.
Yeah,
That was
knocking them out.
That was awesome. But no, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, the 2 Division I schools in the state, and I understand you've got your conference, you've got your strength of schedule, all that. But I think you should set that aside and once a year play each other because it's a huge game. I understand West Virginia's quote the big brother, whatever. I'm not buying all that. But I think it's good for the state, the 2 Division I schools, putting each other. You usually play on national television, so I don't think it does anything but help, like you said.
Yeah, well, it does, and it's big for the kids growing up in West Virginia. I mean, that's a game they want to see. That's no matter the outcome, they want to see that.
100%. I always grew up going to the Civic Center and watching Marshall versus West Virginia, and then playing there my freshman year with 10,000 plus fans. I mean, it's a special game for sure.
Is your dad going to play with you guys? Seems like I'm betting his shot's probably still pretty good.
He still plays a little pickup here and there. So I don't know if he's quite in the basketball tournament shape, but if he keeps grinding, keeps working on his game, he might be six man.
Yeah, that'd be all right. I know my dad was he was All-State in West Virginia at Winfield, and he's 80 years old now, and he could still step on a court and hit a shot from about anywhere. It's just I
might need a spot shooter if he's interested.
That's what I'm saying. Once you got a shot, I think it stays with you forever. You may have to build on the arm strength, but
it's like riding a bike.
Well, Jon, hey, we really appreciate you jumping on with us. This has been great, and we're big fans and looking forward to seeing you play. Is when you play over in Europe, is there somewhere that our listeners are people watching can go to see some of those games?
Yeah, so they have streaming service kind of like ESPN3 here. Or watch ESPN. So they have some of that. You just wherever I end up playing, sometimes you have to just check out the team's website or message me directly, and I can try to get you the information. The hard thing is the time difference. So Italy's 6 hours ahead. So sometimes it'll be during the day when we have games in the evening. So it's just a matter of getting all the logistics figured out. But there are some ways to watch the games.
Yeah, that's cool. Right now everybody's starved for any type of sports, I think.
Absolutely.
Did you get to watch the Last Dance? You've been watching the Jordan documentary?
I loved every minute. I was sad when it ended.
Yeah. I heard, they've been talking about doing some documentaries on college coaches next. That might be good.
I hope so. I just need live sports back on television. That's what I need.
Well, yeah, unless you're a NASCAR fan or maybe UFC, that's about all that's out there.
Oh, man. Gosh.
We need to bring back Wild World of Sports. Just throw up random
ESPN
stuff.
the Ocho.
Yeah. Well, Jon, hey, thank you so much, and don't be a stranger. We'd love to have you back on at some point. Keep us updated in how your career's going.
For sure. I appreciate you all having me. It was fun.
All right, Jon, you take it easy. Be careful driving. You're probably you got to be getting close to wherever you're going.
Man, we parked, went in, and now we're on the way back, so it's all good.
All right, Jon. Well, thanks for taking the time with us. We'll see you. Well, so that was Jon Elmore. What'd you think?
Yeah, no, that was great. I think, the one thing I was thinking I might ask him about, because he brought up Jimmer Fredette, like that kind of small school guy. Well, Jimmer Fredette's from upstate New York. You
should have brought that up. You gotta just jump in, man.
He went to high school like 20 miles north of where I grew up, most of my life. And for me, Siena College is the Marshall. It's right there in Albany. They've been to the tournament a couple times. They've had some upsets. You know, maybe they have a little more of a track record than a Marshall. Honestly, they made it to the, I think, the Sweet 16 one year type thing. You know, that's.
Hey.
I guess so. I understand that. I was just going to say, I think it was great that he's willing to, come out. Obviously, wants to fully re-engage himself with his West Virginia.
That's exactly.
Well,
hey,
that's awesome.
he was even jumping on while he's out there running errands or something. So
right. No, that's great.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, he had a couple rough spots on the highway there, but that's all right. we can work through that. You know, I mean, he was such. Yeah, I think a lot of this stuff, you know, when you have a shot to play in the NBA is circumstance, because I think his game is close to NBA ready, if it's not there already. You know, I mean, this guy, you know, he was Mr. There's my pillow. You see that?
Right.
He was Mr. Basketball in West Virginia senior year, averaged like 31 points a game.
Right.
You know, he's the all-time conference and Marshall scorer and assist leader. You know, I mean, it's you know, his dad was Mr. Basketball too. I saw that too. His dad and Jon broke the Curry's record for the most points by a father and son team in college.
Wow.
Or father and son, I guess.
Listen, it's not like he can't step on the court and match up with somebody who's in the NBA right now. I'm sure he absolutely right. I'm sure he absolutely could match up with them. But the reality is, you said it, the timing.
Yeah.
I mean, how long has the NBA been in existence now? Right. It's been 1880 something around that. Right. So you got to think, for how many students are coming out of college, and it's exponentially grown to where there's what is it? How many Division I schools are there now that have basketball programs? 300.
Yeah.
Right. So you got to think, if the average number of athletes that are at a high level come out of college every year, even, forget the ones that leave early for guaranteed NBA glory or NFL glory or Major League Baseball or whatever, you got to think there's an average of, from those 300 schools, probably 4 to 5 top athletes on every single one of them that could at least step on the field that they're responsible for, And doesn't mean they're going to be regulars in the NBA or the MLB or whatever, but you got to think. So every single year there's 1,000 to 1,500 new guys that are at a potential level, And so that's just over the last 40 years there's been 300 schools, right? So how many years before that? And the kids are getting older, and, they go up. But
well, that's it. I mean, most of the time you don't see many second-rounders making it into the NBA. It's mostly what you see is you see bench guys, and can they grow into the role? And did they deserve, the way the NBA draft is, no disrespect to anybody picked in the second round, but the first round is like your locks, or supposed to be your locks. Yeah, for the most part, they generally make a team.
Right. The way the NBA looks at it, the second round is basically like the Major League Baseball draft after round 10. That's what the second round of the draft is. It's just anybody else that they think can help the team and will take a shot, right? So how many teams are there in the NBA now? What is it, 30, right?
30,
so
I believe.
60 picks out of 1,000 to 1,500 potential NBA new additions, or
every year.
Right. So it's
and then you've got everybody that didn't make it that's playing overseas or playing in the
timing is
in the CBA, and it's difficult. It's difficult. But talent wise, no reason that Jon couldn't play there.
No, actually not. I mean, it's
going well.
Like, what did Jimmer Fredette do in the NBA? I mean, he did some stuff in the NBA, but
he did.
He wasn't like a superstar for 20 years or 10 years or something.
The last Marshall player I remember that played in the NBA, I think maybe it was Tamar Slay. I don't remember. Yeah, we worked with his brothers at Ticketmaster. I don't know if you remember. We played ball with them. You remember they played on the Ticketmaster team,
right?
Y team. Yeah, that was kind of. I was thinking about that. We had guys playing with us in a Y league, and obviously, we're just Joe Schmoes that that were dominant.
Yes.
Dominant. I mean, just amazing players. And some of them couldn't even make a college team.
Right.
I mean, just think about that a little bit. If you're good enough to dominate in high school or a Y League or AAU, whatever it is, but you're not good enough to make like a Division I college team.
Right.
And then you take those players that make the team, and most of them aren't good enough to play any type of professional ball, let alone overseas or NBA or anything like that.
Jon Elmore was the state player of the year for West Virginia in 2012 or 2013?
Yeah,
right?
somewhere in there, yep.
He was a 2-star prospect. That's a joke. That's
he
a joke.
31 points a game.
2-star prospect. It's a joke. And I hate to say it, but there's probably some other factors that came into what he was rated for before.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
Although you think being a legacy player would have helped him.
Maybe,
but I mean, his granddad played. I think up at Morgantown. His dad.
How many 4- and 5-star prospects end up doing nothing? They don't even graduate.
Yeah,
John doesn't have that problem.
No, he doesn't have that problem. He
took what he was given. He fought hard. He made the most of it, and he's trying to do something that.
Well, and we didn't talk about it. He started at VMI. Him and
right.
His brother, I think, was at Rio Grande maybe college, but their grandfather got sick and they both came home.
Right. Yeah, I was reading that.
I was reading this story where he was there was a time there where VMI wasn't letting him out of his scholarship.
Right.
And so he was enrolled at Marshall on his own dime and playing in the intramural leagues. And they told D'Antoni hey, you need to check this guy out. He didn't know who he was. So they said he's pretty good. Well, yeah, he had games in intramurals where he was scoring 100 points.
Right.
And then he finally gets as a sophomore gets into on the team and gets to play a little bit and had a really good sophomore season. I think averaged 15 or something like that. And then that incredible junior season. And then followed it up with a really great senior year, and his style meshed perfectly with the style Marshall was trying to run.
Yep. I remember that. I mean, I wasn't in West Virginia that year, but I remember rooting for them in the tournament and just being they were a team's team. Now John was on fire. He was the ultimate fire mouth.
Yeah. We're using that from now on.
Well, I know, right? But it was that was a team, strong team effort from that group. So.
Well, and
there are 32 NBA teams.
Oh,
they have 12 players, 12-man roster.
Yeah.
That's 384 players. There are 330 million people in the U.S. 6 or 7 billion on the planet.
Yeah.
And you got 384 spots.
I know, and I feel guilty every year when they ask me to fill one of them. But I feel like it should go to somebody younger. So I just
you're the ultimate legacy player. You're the ultimate.
I'm just like I'm going to leave it to the younger guys. I get it. I could get I could get out there and dominate a game, but do I want to? No.
Those are NBA, real NBA, not NBA Jam spots.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I'm thinking NBA Jam. That's right.
No, but seriously, like you think about the numbers like that. It's basically impossible to make the NBA.
Yeah. It absolutely is. It absolutely is.
But I don't see any reason, just based on what I saw over his the last the years of his career in college. Obviously, what he's done coming up through high school, and not that there aren't countless kids doing the same thing, but he has earned every single thing. He was not gifted anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're exactly right. He really has
skills, but it's there are some. Well, as an example, and I do not consider him the greatest of all time. I believe Michael Jordan is, but when LeBron James came into existence, not in the NBA, but like when he hit he hit the ground and suddenly they're all talking about this ninth grader.
Yeah, he came into the national conscience.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He was on Sports Illustrated when he was a freshman in high school or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a situation where, like a Bryce Harper, where it's just the skill's all there, but all those possible timing problems that everybody else has, LeBron James had none of them. They were all perfectly timed together to make something, right? So there's kids that have that advantage. And granted, like LeBron James has worked hard. He's gotten what he's gotten. But, like, John's not had that. And he's got to work his way past a lot of kids who do get that type of opportunity, like where the timing works together.
It hadn't been an easy road.
Right. And so the deck is a little stacked. But when you look at what he's done, worked his way up, 2-star prospect, and next thing you know, he's leading his team into the second round of the NCAA tournament.
He's a big game player, man.
Right. And he's played professionally. He has played professionally.
Yeah.
Period. It's been in Italy. So what? To his point, they got hundreds of teams. It's professional basketball. He's paid to play it. The 384 spots in the NBA, I mean, he's got his work cut out for him, but I think if there's somebody who can work hard to get there, he can do it.
Yeah, I'm not going to bet against him.
Nope.
I'm not going to bet against him.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
So, well, hey, so
we've dealt with that our whole lives, man. People betting against us, but here we are, podcasting our asses off.
I heard, and I may be wrong. I don't believe there's been any differences from the previous knowledge of mine based on this Corona disaster, but I've heard you're kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal, man.
Hasn't changed, right? I mean, look.
Hadn't changed. It hadn't. If anything, in isolation, I've just grown.
I was going to say to Jon,
literally just grown.
You've asked him, how's he staying in shape? And I would have said, well, listen, I've had no problem staying in exactly the shape I was in before this started. So.
Oh, shoot. Well, hey, Dennis, thank you for coming back to the program. Yeah, we missed having you join. We gotta get you back in the.
Anytime you want to do the Zoom thing, we use Zoom whenever we do the D&D stuff. So this is no difference for me.
You use the Zoom?
The Zoom. I mean, we messaged each other beforehand on the Facebook, so we use.
Yeah, that's the truth. All right, hang on. Let me wish everybody well, and I'll pause.
Wrap it up.
All right, everybody. So that's our show. Thanks to Jon Elmore for coming on, and thanks as always to the Panda for his expert advice. And we will see you all very soon.
Peace.
Boom.